Today we are making the easiest and fastest t-shirt quilt, and I will also be talking about some of the fundamentals so you can make one in whatever size that you need. So first up, you're going to need a ton of t-shirts, and I have a collection of Game of Thrones t-shirts that we are going to be cutting up in honor of the new House of Dragon TV series that just aired yesterday. I hope you're watching it too, if that's your thing. But anyways, first things first, we are going to trim up the t-shirts down just so they are a little bit easier to work and handle with. And since I am using a cotton t-shirt, I am just going to cut the sides off, then around the armpit area to the shirt, and then go towards the collar, and then back around to the other side, and then just trim off that armpit and back down on the side. Now, I really only want the main focus print of the shirt, so I really don't need all this excess stuff all around it and of course the back. But if your shirt has a print on the back as well, you can just go ahead and cut the sleeves off and the shoulder collar area. That way you'll have a piece that's both front and back of the shirt. But ours only have a print on the front, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. But go ahead and trim up all of your shirts up just so they're easier to work with. Now, before we go ahead and cut a block out, I highly recommend that you starch your t-shirts first. Most t-shirt fabrics are, of course, very stretchy, and even if you hate starching fabrics or even your quilt blocks, I really wouldn't leave this part out on a t-shirt quilt. It will help you tremendously in the long run once you start sewing all of your blocks together. Now, if you are not a huge fan of starching them out like a military uniform, then I do highly recommend using Mary Ellen's Best Press. It won't make it super duper stiff, but it will help it out. So it's kind of like a lesser version, but I love it so much because it does help make cotton fabrics stiff, but it won't make it too stiff. But either way, I will go ahead and have a link for it down below in the description. And although mine is scented, it does come in unscented and of course many other different scents. So maybe you'll find something that you like if you haven't used this. But once everything is all starched and ready, I like to then cut my squares out. Now we have a size large t-shirt for a reference, and I am using a 15.5-inch square ruler, which is large enough to fit majority of the designs on our t-shirts. If your shirts are larger or smaller, then you may need to choose a square ruler that of course fits your t-shirts better. Now, as I mentioned this before, we are making it the easiest t-shirt quilt ever, so make sure all of your shirts are the exact same square size just to make it simple. Now, the larger your square is, the less t-shirts you will need depending on what size you want to make. If you are using baby clothes, you may need quite a lot depending on, of course, what size you want to achieve. Now, this will all vary once again on what size t-shirts you are starting out with and what size block you will be cutting out. But once again, for reference, I am using a large t-shirt and I am cutting 15.5-inch squares. But once all of your squares are cut out, you are going to take Pellon interfacing called SF101. There are so many choices out there that you can use to interface your t-shirt quilts, but I like to use SF101 because you can find it in stock just about anywhere because it's super popular and very versatile. So SF101 also comes in two colors that at least I know of, and they are the colors white and black. I do have both colors available in my personal stash, but right now I have the black color interfacing since most of my t-shirts are black. But either way, you're going to take your shirt squares and lay the back side of it to the bumpy texture side of the interfacing, and you're going to iron it down. Now, it is very important that when you are ironing it down, that you are lifting your iron up and then pressing it back down. Then you lift it up and then you press it back down again. Do not move the iron side to side because you will stretch your t-shirt quilts out, which is also why we starch them before to help avoid this, just in case. But just remember to lift and press, lift and press. And what I'm just going to do is keep ironing down all the t-shirts, one right next to each other. And then afterwards, I'm going to trim the excess off. Then, of course, re-square the blocks up just in case I did stretch some of them out a little bit. Now, out of the whole process, ironing your interfacing down is probably the longest thing and most time consuming. If you have one of those like t-shirt iron press vinyl iron-ons, use it. It will go a lot faster, but if you don't, a normal iron will just work, of course. It just takes a little bit. Now, as you can see, I ran out of the black interfacing, and here's the white version as well. So either way is okay, like I previously mentioned. But once all of your squares have your interfacing and you've cut all your squares back out, you're just going to lay them in the order that you would like. And as always, just sew your blocks together to form rows. And then lastly, sew your rows together to complete the top of your t-shirt quilt. It is that easy and that simple. And here we have it. Here is everything all sewn up together. Now, all of my t-shirts are based on the TV series called Game of Thrones, like I previously mentioned. So I wanted to keep a theme going on. So for the backing, I am using like a minky fur backing. And if you are sending your quilt to a Longarm quilter professional, make sure that they are okay with it before you purchase a minky fur backing for a t-shirt quilt. Please tell them that, hey, I made a t-shirt quilt and I would like to have fur or a minky backing. Will you quilt it for me still? because some long arm quilters may not want to do that. Now, there are quite a few out there that still do this and will still love to quilt your quilt, but I'm just telling you, do ask, especially if you already have a long arm quilter professional, because I'll be honest, it can be a pain in the butt from personal experience. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and quilt it with a sword edge to edge pattern that I custom drew up for this quilt. And ta-da, here it is. If you do like this edge to edge pattern, I will have a link for it down below in the description. I thought it went perfectly for my Game of Thrones themed t-shirt quilt. Now, I haven't fully finished it. I do need to add binding, but like I said earlier, sometimes long arm quilting t-shirt quilts with a fur backing can be a pain in the butt. And one of my t-shirts was super stubborn. There's like 20 start and stops, and I'm a bit annoyed with this quilt at the moment. But I do wanted to get this video out for you, but don't worry, I will have it all nice and finished and binded for the next episode of House of Dragon. But as always, if you could please hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be notified for your next amazing project.